E POU IERIKI oi, toki nā maia ei, ei, e ka kikurunga, o POU IERIKI e kai e kero. E POU IERIKI oi, toki nā maia ei, ei, e ka kikurunga, o POU IERIKI e kai e kero. E POU IERIKI oi, toki nā maia ei, ei, e ka kikurunga, o POU IERIKI e kai e kero. E POU IERIKI oi, toki nā maia ei, ei, e ka kikurunga, o POU IERIKI e kai e kero.
Okorong taring, okorong taring. He re mei taimi, he re mei te motu. He re mei ka rangata matua, ka jacket, ka chimerik, ka mokupu. He re mei o IERIKI, IERIKI. O teneti, o POU IERIKI, ko himaira. Ko himaira i ka karakī o ka karāpuna moriori o reku. Ka rahi timihi ki ko te kato, no tata, no tiwhi atu, no te ao nui, te ao roa, te ao marama, o ko menetai meru. This webinar series, POU IERIKI, has been created to introduce, explain, and demonstrate the everyday use of some karakī moriori for those who are learning Tare Moriori, Moriori language, and are interested in tikane Moriori, Moriori culture. These karakī have been sourced from the writings of the record keepers of Moriori traditions and are now being brought to life verbally through recitation and discussion to further our understanding of our karāpuna Moriori and to consider how we can properly apply them in the present and in the future. We would like to thank the Mātāwai for its investment in the regeneration of Tare Moriori, as well as its ongoing support for Moriori language aspirations. The name of the series, POU IERIKI, is derived from an ancient canoe-hauling chant. You would have heard it being recited as the opening track for this webinar series. In an earlier series of webinars produced in 2021-2022, POU IERIKI was explained and taught to participants. Here, the POU represents a pillar, and IERIKI symbolizes leadership, because it takes great strength to take a stand and lead in the face of adversity, and to do so with peace in your heart. Ko himaira I POU IERIKI. In this session, we are focusing on a karakī called Tira Koko. Please watch the following video and listen to the karakī being recited and explanations that follow along with some practical uses of phrases contained in this karakī.
Manaka mai ta tira iuta, manaka mai ta wheu iuta, manaka mai ta aka iuta, manaka mai ta tira iuta. Ka ua 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 mai ruputake me repu kere kere kia mahuta ai. Tēnā taki mahuta te kawa e taina tutakina takina ui a whenua. Tira Koko. Tira Koko is a karakī that's part of a sequence that was used by the karāpuna in the dedication of children. Tira Koko is sometimes commonly known as manaka mai. And in the sequence in the dedication of chimarik, of children, the child was likened to a tree. In fact, you could say that the connection was made or reaffirmed between the child and a tree. Because manaka mai talks about those things. It talks about how we are all connected to everything around us, above, below, within, and externally. So it is a karakī that we can utilize in a variety of ways. Yes, as part of a dedication ceremony, as a way of helping our chimarik, our mokopu, to be fully connected to the sands, to the earth, to the water, to the elements. And manaka mai is part of that process of reaffirming that. But manaka mai can also be used as a way of acknowledging how we all connect and how we connect to the world and everything around us.
So, this karakī, Tira Koko. You see the words are in front of you on the screen. And I'll just talk through the words that you would have heard in the karakī as it's been recited, and also just go through the translation of it. And just so you understand, these words and these translations are taken from the writings of, or the kōrero that was collected by Hirawana Tapu and is recorded in Shan's book about Moriori language, culture, and traditions. So, manaka mai te tira iuta, manaka mai te whiau iuta, manaka mai te aka iuta, manaka mai te tira iuta. Ka uaue ue mai I ruputake me re pū kere kere, ke mahuta ai, tēnā taki mahuta te kawa, e tainā, tūtakina, takina, ui iawheni. When you have an opportunity later on to review this webinar and listen to the way it was recited, you'll note that there are some differences. There are some differences in some of the words, and they're very slight differences. And I guess you can put that down to Cuba's poetic license, but also just going for a natural feel. But before we get into those differences, let's take a bit of a deep dive into the meanings behind the words. So please remember, there will be a question and answer session later on. So please feel free to post any questions and comments in the chat function. So as was said in the video, Tira Koko, also known as manaka mai, is a multi-purpose karakī. And it was traditionally used as part of the tohina, or the dedication rites, or chimarik, as well as to promote growth and development. And as was mentioned before, and I'll talk about this a little bit more soon, Tira Koko is part of a series of karakī used by the karāpuna to dedicate a young child to its life purpose and pathway, the pathway that child would take in life. And this karakī speaks of a tree or a sprig that's been planted and belonging to and dedicated to the etu, known as Tāne Matahu. That's a really important name to remember, Tāne Matahu. For Māori, we talk about Tāne Mahuta. Moriori, we talk about Tāne Matahu. Now, with this karakī, Tira Koko, and because it's so multi-purpose, it can be used not just when doing a dedication for a child, but also when you're planting a tree. The tree was actually, the planting of a tree was a really important part of the dedication rites. where a tree was planted to connect its growth to that of a child. Now, this is a practice that we find throughout so many cultures in the world. And certainly something that, as I said in the video, it helps us to be connected, not just to the tree, but to the earth, to the sky, to all the elements. Now, according to the narratives that have been handed down about this particular karakī, the tree that was used mostly for this practice was known as the inihina. Now, in Te Reo Māori, we call it mahoe, so inihina. But, or should I say, there was a tree that would take root very easily. So I guess that's why the karāpuna selected that particular rako. But there were times when other rako were used, when other trees were utilised. Now, as you would have seen and as you would have heard during this series of IERIKI, each karakī has a natural rhythm and cadence. And that is complemented by its oro, or vibration, or tone. The oro is derived from everything around us, from the natural world, the environment. In the case of Tira Koko, the oro, I like to think of it as like the hum of insects in the forest. It's like the breeze blowing through the trees, the rustling of the leaves, and finally a settling down of those elements on the forest floor itself. The word tira features prominently in the name and the lines of this karakī, as you can see. So while the translation that you see in front of you, it speaks of a tree, the word tira often means like a ladder or steps or a pathway that one will climb. Likewise, as a tree grows and a child grows, each ascends upward. Figuratively, each is climbing upward or ascending a ladder of development. The words POU and aka refer to the roots of the tree, aka especially. Now, although you see the word household appear in the translation there, POU in this instance is more of a metaphor for the huna, or the family of a child. And if we were to talk about a house in particular in Moriori, yes, we do use the word whare. But another term is waio whare. So that's just a little bit something to add to the repertoire and just help to deepen some of the meaning about the words contained in this karakī, Tira Koko. So let's turn to having a look at the tohinga, the ceremony. So the tohinga for Moriori, from what we know, from the kōrero that has been handed down and passed on, was that it wasn't something that happened in a day or less. It was actually done over several days, usually 2. And so different karakī were recited on those days. Now, one of the names for the ceremony, especially on the first day, is Horo Motuhanga Oro Tuahu. Horo Motuhanga Oro Tuahu. The word tuahu is actually really important. It's a word that you find out that you find throughout Polynesia, or variations of it. Tuahu, and it usually refers to, for want of a better term, shrine, or a place, an altar, is a place of importance, is a place of the wairu, of spirituality. And there was a place where the tohuk would recite their karakī. Now, in our tohinga, and I aroha me te huno, I am not going to go through and recite every karakī that's in this list here, or else we'll be here for the next couple of days. But here are the names of some of the karakī that were part of the dedication rites. There's one karakī that you'll sometimes hear, and that one is called kaone. And kaone is a karakī that names the etu. It names the different entities, the elements, and it calls upon them as part of this process. And as part of the process of calling on them, it also calls on the elements to make themselves heard and seen. Thunder, lightning, and so on, flashes of light to signify our life. There's another karakī, and sadly, this karakī, as far as we know, has been lost. And that karakī was called the tuahu. And that was part of the process. But we'll talk a little bit more about that very soon. We have other karakī that are part of this, of the dedication rites. Takuere is another one. Tua oro wai, also known as Tua o tāne matahu. And of course, Tira Koko. Another karakī called Wai Whakatiputipu, which for Māori we refer to as tā ngai ngai. And then finally, Tuaporo, or Whata a Tamahiwa. And we're going to be looking at that one next week in the final webinar. So each karakī served a purpose. What a lot of these karakī did was about, as I said before, connecting the child to the world and everything contained in the world. In these karakī, there is great importance placed on water and growth. So knowing that we know about these karakī, and that some of them, most of them have been recorded, but also bearing in mind that there are ones like tuahu, which have seem to have been lost. Something for us to think about is, what would it be like for us, taimi moriori, to revive these tikani? What would it be like for us to be able to bring these rites, dedication, and rites of passage back into te ao marama, back into the world of light? In the background picture, and I can see my wife, Hinarangi Shields, having a bit of a smile and a laugh, seeing the images of our chimariki, of our children. Quite a few years ago, they're a lot taller and bigger and louder now. But when we talk about revival of a tikani, such as the tohinga, using these karakī, it makes me think about a man called Amster Reedy. And some of you may know of Amster. He was a tohunga from Ngāti Porou. And we were very honoured that Amster was a friend, advisor, and also as a tohunga, he performed the tohi on our children. So this was something that he was doing over 20 years ago, until he passed away. So when I think about what would it be like to revive the tohinga moriori, using our karakī, I think of someone like him and how he was able to bring back into the world of light, the world of now, those karakī Māori, for the tohi, and reconnect our children to their world and everything around them. I guess you can also put that alongside the revival of such significant kaupapa as matariki and puanga. So while you can see behind me the wall of Te Ana o Nunuku, the Nunuku's cave on Rekohu, I'm actually sitting in Taranaki. And here in Taranaki, they talk about puanga. Puanga was also very important to Moriori. So in terms of marking a new year, puanga was the whetū that our karāpuna Moriori looked to when it came to marking the beginning of a new year. And they also acknowledged those other whetū that came over the horizon that appeared in the sky. And also they referred to ka whetū nawe nawe, the forgotten stars. So once again, here's another comparison of a tikanga Māori that over the past 20 plus years, actually longer than that, it's been over 30, 40 years of the efforts of a lot of people to bring kaupapa such as matariki and puanga, and even longer than that, to bring it back into our present so that we can carry it into the future. So as we think about those things, how can we carry the karakī that have been left for us as a process for today and into the future? There's something for us to have a think about. And perhaps in days, weeks, months, years to come, hopefully not years, we can look at this particular rite, the tohina, and bring it alive again. So, with that in mind, let's listen again to this karakī being recited while we contemplate what that tikane could be.
Manaka mai ta tira iuta, manaka mai ta wheu iuta, manaka mai ta aka iuta, manaka mai ta tira iuta. Ka ua mai ruputake me repu kere kere ke mahuta ai. Tēnā taki mahuta te kawa e taina tutakina takina ui a whenua.
So you can probably see from that video. And when I was talking about the oro and the vibration, you've got to go for effect. The deep breath, yeah. Make it alive. Make it you, make it all of you. So let's have a look at manaka mai. And once again, please feel free if you have any comments or any questions to put them in the chat. And if I don't see them straight away, Rahiri Mākuni, who's actually just sitting over there, she'll say, hey, Papa, someone's asked a really good question. So let's go through this together. Let's just talk it through. So we get a feel for the tukupu, for the words. And like I said before, the way that it's recited in that recording is slightly different to how it's written here, but that's okay. It's actually about the vibration. It's about the oro. It's about the feel. And where there are differences, it's mostly to do with that word te, because I think I might have mentioned it earlier webinar, that Moriori, in Tare Moriori, we have about a dozen ways of saying the. So te is one of them, as is da, as is che, as in, there's a whole lot, there's a heap of them. But we won't get into it right now. So let's talk through Tira Koko. Because the great thing about Tira Koko is it can also be used as arongo. You can also use it as a way of completing something that you've said, a mihi, or something along those lines. And we have actually used it in that way for a number of different things. So let's talk this through. Okay. So, manaka mai te tira I uta. Manaka mai te tira I uta. And just listen to how I'm saying it. I'm being very definite and precise with the words. I'm not making it flow. I'm making sure that each word, as much as possible, is not separated, but that you can hear it. Manaka mai te tira I uta. manaka mai te wheau I uta. Right? Manaka mai te aka I uta. Manaka mai te tira I uta. Okay? So let's just go through those 4 lines together. Manaka mai te tira I uta. Manaka mai te wheau I uta. Manaka mai te aka I uta. Manaka mai te tira I uta. And if some of you are thinking, oh man, that's a bit hard. It's kind of like you're doing a half swallow, like a bit of an as you're saying these words, especially on the end of them. Okay, let's do it one more time. Manaka mai te tira I uta. Manaka mai te wheau I uta. Manaka mai te aka I uta. Manaka mai te tira I uta. Now this next part's a bit tricky, but just roll with me. Okay. Ka uaue ue mai. Ka uaue ue mai. Ka uaue ue mai. Yeah, it's a ooh, okay. Ka uaue ue mai iruputake. 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 Ka uaue ue mai iruputake. Ka uaue ue mai iruputake. Go from the top. Manaka mai te tira I uta. Manaka mai te wheau I uta. Manaka mai te aka I uta. Manaka mai te tira I uta. Ka uaue ue mai iruputake. Okay. Takes a bit of practice, but that's okay. Took me a while. It actually took me a while to find the vibration, to find the oral, and find cadence that felt natural for it. Okay, we're gonna do the next line. So we'll go ka uaue ue mai iruputake me repu kere kia mahuta ai. All right, let's do that again. Ka uaue ue mai iruputake me repu kere kia mahuta ai. Now, notice how I'm especially with that me repu. I'm not going me repu. Okay. Me repu kere. And the reason why we separate the tukupu like that is because they actually have quite precise meanings. Now, we're not going to get into it tonight. But it's just a way of being able to know exactly what's being said. But, we'll come to it at a later time and get more into some of the more, I guess, technical meanings, but not tonight. Let's just get into the flow of this and get comfortable. So we'll go from the top. Manaka mai te tira I uta. Manaka mai te wheau I uta. Manaka mai te aka I uta. Manaka mai te tira I uta. Ka uaue ue mai ruputake me repu kere kia mahuta ai. Whew. All right. We're getting there, Huno. We're almost there. Next part goes, tēnā taki mahuta te kawa. Tēnā taki mahuta te kawa. Tēnā taki mahuta te kawa. Now, when you listen to the video, you'll hear me use the word kama, not kawa. Like I said, the words on the screen are taken from the writings of Alexander Shand and Kōrero collected by Hiro Taku. But the word kama is actually a more moriori way of saying kawa. Okay, and I haven't come across it in this form anywhere else. Not to say that other peoples don't use it, but I think it's one of those really unique things about karāpuna moriori was where they took the word kawa and it became kama. And there are actually other karakī that really bring this tukupa kama to the fore. Anyway, for today, we're just going to use this one. Tēnā taki mahuta te kawa. Tēnā taki mahuta te kawa. Now, let's go from the top again. Manaka mai te tira I uta. Manaka mai te whiau I uta. Manaka mai te aka I uta. Manaka mai te tira I uta. Ka uau ue mai I ruputake. Mere pu. Kere kia mahuta ai. Tēnā taki mahuta te kawa. E taina, tutakina, takina, ui. Okay. Tēnā taki mahuta te kawa. E taina, tutakina, takina, ui. Now, for the reo Māori speakers out there, you see the word takina. Now, make sure to say takina, not takina. That's a different type of oral, and that's that we use now. Karākī tāwhina. Okay, this isn't takina. This is takina. And actually, the word takina is a way of saying that something is good. So there is an expression in Moriori, a question that you'd ask, and I think we covered it in the first webinar series a couple of years ago, where you'd ask someone the question, ia ko. Ia ko. And ia ko is saying, how are you? Ia ko. And a response would be, takina au. Takina au. I'm good. So just try that. Ia ko. How are you? Ia ko. And the reply, takina au. Takina au. So it's all short vowel sounds. I'm good. Okay. So let's go from the top. We'll go through it a few times. Manaka mai te tira I uta. Manaka mai te whiau I uta. Manaka mai te aka I uta. Manaka mai te tira I uta. Ka uau ue mai I ruputake me repu kere kia mahuta ai. Tēnā taki mahuta te kawa e taina, tutakina, takina, uia. Okay, let's try it again. Manaka mai te tira I uta. Manaka mai te whiau I uta. Manaka mai te aka I uta. Manaka mai te tira I uta. Ka uau ue mai ruputake me repu kere kia mahuta ai. Tēnā taki mahuta te kawa e taina, tutakina, takina, ui, ia whenua. Now, what I want you to do, put a little bit of a rock or a bit of a beat to it, okay? Because that's the really important thing. Yeah, I'm going to say, yeah, guys, you want a rock. Okay. Because actually, it's about getting into it. Even though in the video I'm standing there looking all very, worshipful, whatever, if that's actually a word. But get a bit of movement into it, all right? And then you start to feel the cadence, you feel the beat. Okay, let's try it. Manaka mai te tira I uta. Manaka mai te whiau I uta. Manaka mai te aka I uta. Manaka mai te tira I uta. Ka uau ue mai ruputake me repu kere kia mahuta ai. Tēnā taki mahuta te kawa e taina, tutakina, takina, uia whenua. It's kind of like a rap. Think of it like that. It's kind of like a rap because there's a rhythm to it. All right, let's try this again, okay? Put your own action. If you want to go wild out there, go crazy, throw your hands up in the air, wave around like you just don't care, like a tree, like a rako, because that's what this is about, then do it, okay? Whatever feels right for you. If you need to stand and do it, and you need to boogie, do it. It's all good, okay? Because this karakī is positive. It's about growth. It's about life, okay? It's about, onward and upward. So put some movement into it. Okay. Manaka mai te tira iuta. Manaka mai te wheu iuta. Manaka mai te aka iuta. Manaka mai te tira iuta. Ka uau we ue mai. Ruputake mere pu. Kere kere kia mahuta ai. Tēnā taki mahuta te kawa. E tai nā, tūtaki nā, taki nā. Uia whenua. Yes, I'm an old school hip hop fella. Okay, fella babe. Right. So let's add a bit more oral to it. Okay, we've got the rhythm, we've got the feel. So let's add a bit more of the oral. Manaka mai ta tira iuta. Manaka mai ta wheo iuta. Manaka mai ta aka iuta. Manaka mai ta tira iuta. Ka ue mai ruputake mere pu. Kere kere kia mahuta ai. Tēnā taki mahuta te kawa e taina. Tūtaki nā, taki nā. Uia whenua. Can you feel it? Let's try it again. And you can hear what I'm doing here. It's actually, you're channeling the karāpuna. And you're channeling everything that's around. If you look at that picture, that rako, and some of you will recognize that where that rako is, and the others will be wondering, where is that rako? Well, yeah, you'll find it one day if you go to a place called Hinga. And that rako just stands there out by, it's just so there. And I actually love that rako because it's just like, wow, you just stand there, just strong and proud. And yeah. And so if you can imagine when the wind is blowing, and you can see the rako in the background of that picture, where they're on a bit of a tilt, you'd be a bit more exposed to the wind. Imagine when the wind is blowing, even if it's a gentle breeze, and there's the rustling of the leaves. That's what we're going for. That's the feel, that's the sound, that's the experience that we're going for when we're doing this karakī. Okay? So let's try it. Just have a take a moment, go, rustling leaves and tree. Okay. Manaka mai te tira iuta, manaka mai te whea iuta, manaka mai te aka iuta, manaka mai te tira iuta. Ka ue mai I ruputake mere pu, kere kere kia mahuta ai. Tēnā taki mahuta te kawa e taina, tutakina, takina, ui. Okay. You've got the opportunity later on to come back and go through this video and go through this exercise as many times as you want. It's a karakī that it's a bit of a tongue twister, but once you wrap your mouth, and your warero, once you wrap your warero around this one, man, it's just, it feels so good. So like I said, Tira Koko. It's a karakī about life. It's a karakī about growth and development. It's a karakī for our shimarik, for our tukupu, but it's also a karakī for us here today. It's also a karakī, it's part of a series for us to think about what can the future look like? What do we want the future to look like for our shimarik, for our tukupu, for our huna, for moriori? And what a beautiful way as a child is coming into this world, or a child is growing into the world, to be able to go through, to experience these karakī in a meaningful way, not in some kind of superficial way, but in a really meaningful way, because it helps provide them with a purpose and a place and a perspective on life. So, just going to go to the chat and yeah. Okay, I see a few comments in there. Okay, so the pronunciation of the word whiau. Okay, whiau. If you're having problems with it, because there's the problem is that when you have a word that's got a whole lot of vowels running together, you're like going, how do I say that? So, whiau, 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 whiau. The other word that's in there, obviously, that probably it might intimidate you, but don't be scared of it. And that's that uowe. Okay, so let's break that one down. Uowe. 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 And of course, the word that follows it, uia. Uea. One trick is that if you're having problems with a tukupu that has a lot of vowels, is to break it down by the vowel sound. So that often works. And in that one in particular, uea, uea, and whiau, and uowe. Okay. So it's a case of just breaking it down a bit. I'll just check and see if there's any other comments or any questions. Man, you're quite punched tonight. That's okay. I think because it's been a couple of weeks since we had our last webinars. We did 3 in a row and 3 nights. And now we've gone into number 4 2 weeks later, and everyone's like, So it's okay. If there aren't any questions, then I will check the chat just one more time. It's okay. So we'll go through it one more time, and then we'll bring our night to a close. So just your choice. If you want to follow along, try and to recite along with me, or you just want to listen, up to you. Okay. Manaka mai te tira iuta, manaka mai te wheo iuta, manaka mai te aka iuta, manaka mai te tira iuta. Ue mai ruputake mere pu kere kere kia mahuta ai. Tēnā taki mahuta te kawa e taina tu takina takina uia. So once again, we'd like to say thank you to you all for joining us tonight. And e mihi to Hokotehi Moriori Trust and Kopinga Marae on Rekohu, to all of our hunu over there who keep the fires burning. Once again, an acknowledgement to Te Mātāwai, who provides the funding and the support. And it's not just about the money and the funding, but there's a whole lot of stuff that the Mātāwai does behind the scenes to support language revitalization throughout Aotearoa, and also for Rekohu. And once again, an acknowledgement to the Pai Pūtaio, Whare Wānanga o Tāgo, who assisted us with the filming of videos and recording of a whole lot of stuff for these webinars. And of course, we have our support crew here from RT Solutions and Project Rangatahi. So once again, that's Rahiri Makuni, and you can't see him, but up in Auckland, there's a guy called Zach. All right. So to bring us to a conclusion, and we hope that you have enjoyed our webinar tonight as part of the series of POU IERIKI. So please do join us for the upcoming webinar, which will be next week on Tuesday the 30th, where we'll be looking at another karakī in this series, for the tohinga, and ko tuaporo, pata a tamahiwa. So, thank you once again. And it is only right that we finish this session as we have with our previous ones, with a karakī to refocus our thoughts on the important things in our lives, such as our huno and our pain. Okay. Tau mu wai rum, tau mu wai raro, tau mu wai roto, tau mu wai waho. Haurongo, haurongo, hoko menetai, mero. Tawa tira, ko piriang.
E rongo.
E POU IERIKI oi, tokina mai ei, e ka kikurung, o POU IERIKI e kai e kero. E POU IERIKI oi, tokina mai ei, e ka kikurung, o POU IERIKI e kai e kero.